Coming up in NAIT NewsWatch Extra. Fake IDs are circulating in Edmonton. We look into why this problem is still happening.
It was just given to me at a party. Someone who didn't need it anymore. Say it was like, hey, this looks like you.
How big is your carbon footprint? We compare public transit use to taking your car.
If I know I'm going to be able to leave right after class, then I'll take the bus. But if I know I'm going to be really late, then I drive.
And they've been called the lazy generation. Reconfront the stereotype of Generation Y.
I think it's kind of offensive being called the lazy generation.
Hello, and welcome to NAIT NewsWatch Extra. My name is Andy Ferguson.
And I'm Emily Vaughn. Here at NAIT NewsWatch, we brought you the stories from across our city.
And we'd like to take you into the city and show you all the stories we've experienced in this past semester.
Teenagers today are maturing faster and experiencing more at a young age than ever before.
And with fake IDs popping up everywhere, some people are curious to see on how accessible they actually are. Alicia Burke has more on the story. Thank you.
For anyone who's enjoyed a night on the town, chances are you know somebody who's used a fake ID. Whether it's made custom or borrowed from a lookalike, the problem has risen drastically. Kevin Torgos works at Julio's Barrio and thinks proper security is the key to spotting a fake.
We ID every single person in here. Just because we're responsible for it as well, with our ProServe and AGLCs here every week, if not more than once a week. So we're actually responsible. So we're responsible for people when they leave here, how much they drank here.
Many bars and nightclubs in Edmonton have advanced systems that allow them to scan and verify identification. Unfortunately, minors still have the option to use their identification outside the bar to buy cigarettes and alcohol all over Edmonton. There's a reason alcohol is illegal to underage kids, and bouncers do what they can to keep minors out of the bars. So how are so many fakes flying around? Sam Vaughn had no trouble getting his hands on one.
It was just given to me at a party. Someone who didn't need it anymore. Say it was like, hey, this looks like you. I used it one day, it worked, so I held on to it.
Part of the issue is that consequences are light for minors caught using fake ID, and a steeper penalty could be a step in the right direction for fraud prevention.
I kind of got off easy. They were just like, hey, we're just going to take this away from you, and I don't know, I guess I needed that.
This past month was Fraud Prevention Month, and city officials have high hopes for getting the issue under control by spreading awareness. For NAIT NewsWatch, I'm Alicia Burke.
With global warming on the rise, some students are trying to make an effort by going green and taking Edmonton Transit.
But for some students, that's a long trip and a lot of hassle. Sean McClune reports.
It's 6 a.m. and Katrina Taylor is getting up to start another day. She's just one of thousands of people that live more than 45 minutes from work or school and have to make a daily choice on how she plans to get to where she needs to be. Like many people, Katrina has a choice to take public transit or to drive. It's also a choice of going green or getting to school in less than 40 minutes. It all depends on what her schedule is like that day.
Yeah, it's definitely how much work I have to do at school. If I know I'm going to be able to leave right after class, then I'll take the bus. But if I know I'm going to be really late, then I drive, because I don't like taking the bus at night.
Every year, roughly 160 megatons of greenhouse gases are released into the atmosphere from Canadians driving.
In 2005, emissions in Canada and the US were at an all-time high, and environmentalists and politicians both decided they needed to do something about it. So they sat down and they decided that by the year 2020, they wanted to slash the greenhouse gases by 17% of what it was in 2005.
The first thing they decided to do was to target personal vehicles and the greenhouse gases that they emit. At the same time, many cities across Canada and the US pushed to make public transit more attractive and effective. In Edmonton, the transit system runs over 730 buses and almost 60 light rail cars every day in an effort to make commuting around Edmonton easier and more eco-friendly. James Spur, an automotive instructor at NAIT, thinks that students should take the public transit system if only because of the cost of maintaining a personal vehicle.
Maybe every few years they need to buy a new set of tires. Maybe a set of tires is $800. A little bit of maintenance during the year, maybe say $300 plus a bit of miscellaneous stuff. So, you know, if you would set $500 to $1,000 minimum, that would probably be a typical average depending on the make and model a car.
So what does this mean to Katrina?
Because I usually take the 15, the Millwoods Express, from NAIT all the way to Millwoods, where I leave my car. But that one stops running at like 6:15 every day, and sometimes I'm at school till like 9 or 10. So if it ran later, I'd take it more often.
With gas prices on the rise, commuters are going to start gravitating more towards public transit. However, with their personal vehicles sitting right there in their driveways every morning, it's going to be a tough decision to make. Until it becomes too expensive for them to drive every day, commuters are going to continue to drive for the simple fact of the time factor. For NAIT NewsWatch, I'm Sean McClune.
You're watching NAIT NewsWatch.
If your parents ever called you lazy, you're definitely not alone.
And I decided to take an in-depth look on why me and Emily are stereotyped into a lazy generation.
Everyone at some point in their life struggles with what they want to do. But some older generations, such as the baby boomers and Generation X, believe that one generation is taking too long to make up their mind. They are Generation Y. Generation Y are people born from the 80s to the 90s, Generation X are people that are born from the 60s to the 70s, and the baby boomer generation is from 1946 to 1964. Articles found on the internet are suggesting that people born in Generation Y are lazy, unreliable, and more focused on play instead of work. But this isn't necessarily true. This is Kaylee Crowley. Every morning she goes to class at the University of Alberta. She is in her 3rd year of education, and her goal in life is to become an elementary teacher.
I'm usually up by 6 o'clock-ish, and then I go off to the bus. I go to school, and then I come back home, do some homework, and then I go to bed.
On the days she can get off, she volunteers for a kindergarten class. So Crowley doesn't think her generation is represented correctly.
I think it's kind of offensive being called the lazy generation. I don't think the majority of people are lazy. I think we just have different priorities.
Priorities like finding a better balance between work and play and trying to enjoy life more.
Also known as the millennials, Generation Y has grown up with technology by their side. With the latest cell phones and the internet just being a click away, it seems like everything is easier to get to.
So it's no wonder they want to enjoy themselves and take a break from the noise of the present. And compared to the baby boomer generation, Generation Y might have it just as hard as it was back in their day. Carol McCrae, a new grandmother, is part of that generation.
You know, life was kind of simpler. We didn't have to worry about being bullied on the cell phone or bullied on the internet, and I think that that's had a real impact on self-esteem and maybe just for the younger generation.
So Generation Y seems to go through life pretty hard, just like all the other generations did before them. As for Crowley, she continues to work hard, ignoring the stereotype that was given to her generation. Andy Ferguson, NAIT NewsWatch.
Sometimes we take food for granted, but some Edmontonian inner city residents aren't so lucky.
The same food we take for granted can brighten their day. Kevin Snattersey reports.
March 20th to 26th was Inner City Awareness Week, and the Inner City Agencies Foundation held its annual roast beef dinner for the homeless on March 20th to kick it off. They lined up outside for the chance to get a hot meal. The event fed over 500 homeless and had close to 40 people volunteer.
People do it for two reasons. They feel like it's the right thing to do, but also most people that volunteer usually get just as much out of something as they do the people they're volunteering for, I think.
I come here every year and I enjoy it and look forward to it, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. It makes me feel good that I'm doing something for someone else.
There were celebrity volunteers on hand, such as Edmonton Eskimos Aaron Fianconi and Graham Bell.
Being an Eskimo is a privilege, and it's something that I take very true to heart. And any chance I get to give back to my community here in Edmonton, it's a special one.
It's something we're viewed, on a different level than most people, and I think that especially with young kids and people like homeless people like today, they look at you as you're really trying to benefit your community.
One of the other celebrity servers was world champion curler David Netawin.
You see a lot of these people come in and they're obviously down on their luck and having a tough go, and you feed them a great meal like this and they've all got smiles on their faces.
ICAF, which is made up of 7 inner city agencies, has made this an annual event for 16 years. Homelessness is a huge issue in Edmonton, with an estimated 3,000 people homeless in the city. Homeless people usually suffer from mental health or addiction issues. The people are friendly and they seem very grateful to get a good meal.
I love all these people here. They all help. It's being friendly, and that's it. And I enjoy my meal.
They engage so well. You know, they see the police at a different level when we're out here trying to help them and trying to give back to the community rather than seeing the other side of us, right? Often we engage with the homeless people in a different type of encounter than this.
There was even some music for entertainment. The second part of the Inner City Awareness Week was the Mac and Cheese Luncheon. It was held at the Westin on March 24th. The proceeds of that went to charity.
Coming up after the break, kids get out of the classroom and take their learning on the road as they attend classes at the Valley Zoo.
They've been to the zoo. It's so meaningful. It's all new.
A new shoe is starting to become popular in the footwear world.
Basically, in the past 2 years, we haven't been able to keep them in stock in the popular sizes.
Teachers often compare their class to a zoo.
For one Edmonton class, that's actually a reality. Caitlin Dalbigan reports.
Zoo School is a week-long program that brings kids out of their element and into a new one.
Typically when a student goes home at the end of the day, mom or dad say, so how was your day? What did you do? And they say, fine, nothing. And that's about all the conversation you get out of them. But when they've been to the zoo, it's so meaningful. It's all new. It's up close, personal. And they start talking the minute they walk in the door till they go to bed at night.
Can you tell me what kind of armadillo it is, Nathaniel?
Three rings.
Three-banded.
The program allows children to learn in a comprehensive and hands-on way, keeping them interested and excited about what they're learning.
Oh, they are so excited. We have been counting down since February, and starting at day 30, we've been counting down every day.
Zoo School gets kids using the practical skills they learn in school in fun ways, like making elephant popsicles to give Lucy.
And what teachers have told me is that students go back and all year they make references to the zoo, so they'll be doing something like talking about what something weighs, and they can say, oh, well, because Lucy weighs this many kilograms, and they can sort of make those references, and it just makes it more meaningful.
Though the program is only a week long, it integrates into the whole year of study for students. The zoo also has plans to extend Zoo School to help aid in the conservation of the endangered red panda by joining Zoo School with the sister school in the red panda's homeland of the Himalayan mountains.
That the kids get some awareness of the world beyond their classroom, what other kids are going through and how they're learning and what kind of technologies they have and what their lives are actually like.
The Valley Zoo hopes that by sponsoring an animal that the kids can come, visit, and see at the zoo, they'll be more excited to raise money with their school. By joining with the sister school, it also provides the zoo with the ability to educate the people about conserving and protecting animals like the red panda in their own home. For NAIT NewsWatch, this is Caitlin Dalbigan. So you guys have 4.
There's a lot of evidence that suggests that the shoe was one of mankind's first inventions.
And since then, the shoe has made some big leaps. Daryl Ann Hutchings has more.
Devin Smart, like many people, have more than one pair of shoes.
I have about 10 pairs of shoes. Each of them cost between about $80 to $120 a piece. I find myself replacing them on a regular basis.
The average Canadian spends anywhere from $800 to $1,000 a year on shoes. Even with all that money spent, Devin still feels the same about every pair.
I find that my normal daily shoes are really uncomfortable. They really constrict my feet and they don't breathe properly. And I find that after a long day of walking or wearing them, my feet really hurt.
All that has changed for Devin now that he has found these Vibram 5 Fingers. By looking at these shoes, you can quickly realize why they got their name. With individual pockets for every toe, sleek designs, support in areas needed, and a variety of styles, Vibram 5 Fingers are an all-around great investment. There are also a lot of health benefits that go along with the shoes. They help strengthen muscles in the feet and lower legs, improve range of motion in ankles, feet, and toes. They also stimulate neural function important to balance and agility, and also help eliminate heel lift to help align your spine while improving your posture.
I like the feeling of barefoot, but I really wanted to find myself a pair of shoes that really would give me that same feeling but without compromising my safety.
Vibram 5 Fingers have been around for about 5 years and has only gained popularity in the last 2.
Yeah, basically in the past 2 years we haven't been able to keep them in stock in the popular sizes.
Vibram 5 Fingers should be taken lightly.
Take it easy, like start, if you haven't been barefoot running, start 5 minutes the first time and then build up from there.
So how does Devin like his shoes?
I really like them because I find that they're very comfortable, they're very supportive. They give me a really in contact feeling with the ground which I'm walking on, and I never feel that my safety is being compromised while outside.
The typical human foot is an anatomical marvel of evolution with 26 bones, 33 joints, 20 muscles, and hundreds of receptors, tendons, and ligaments. Like the rest of our body, we need to make sure that they are exercised properly. So pick up a pair of Vibrams today and try them out for yourself. With NAIT NewsWatch, I'm Darla Ann Hutchings.
Coming up after the break, we talk to a rising young hockey star who could soon be donning the copper and blue for the Edmonton Oilers.
Pretty shifty, he's quick. He can do everything at high speeds, anything he wants with the puck.
And electronic music is gaining popularity in the mainstream music world.
I'd always been interested in electronic music, and I'd always, wanted to kind of get into it and really didn't know a whole lot about it.
Hair for NAIT NewsWatch personalities sponsored by Carriel Salon and Spa.
With the Edmonton Oilers not making playoffs this year, it looks as though they're only doing 2 things, looking for tee times and looking at the new summer's entry draft.
And as Kyle Gallagher tells us, the team could be looking to add a center from just down the QE2.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins can do some amazing things with a hockey stick.
Gives it to Nugent-Hopkins, slides down the left side into the corner to Kaderna. To Nugent-Hopkins, score!
To sum it up in one word, I guess probably special.
Inspired by his older brother, Nugent-Hopkins started playing hockey at a young age and hasn't looked back since.
Well, I started hockey just because my brother played. He's 5 years older than me, so I always looked up to him, and he played hockey, and my parents just put me in, and it was just something I loved ever since I was a kid.
The Red Deer Rebels center finished this past season 4th in WHL scoring with 106 points and led the league with 75 assists. Edmonton sports fans got a good example of his abilities recently when he put up 9 points in just 4 games to help the Rebels sweep the Oil Kings in the first round of the WHL playoffs. With Nugent-Hopkins expected to be a top pick in this year's NHL entry draft, and the fact that the Oilers are guaranteed another lottery pick, it's likely he'll go from playing against the home team to playing for it. It's no secret the Oilers have been looking for a first-line center, and Nugent-Hopkins has all the required tools.
Pretty shifty, he's quick. He can do everything at high speeds, anything he wants with the puck.
Nugent-Hopkins' skill and hockey IQ have even led to some pretty impressive comparisons to Detroit Red Wings superstar Pavel Datsyuk.
I played with Pavel for a couple of years, and for me, the way he thinks the game, his deceptiveness, his creativity with the puck, and his ability to play in traffic and to handle that physical play, he reminds me a lot of Pav.
According to his coach and teammates, Nugent-Hopkins is great in the locker room and is one of the hardest working and most dedicated players on the team.
But he's a guy that guys look up to because of his skill and his poise, and how confident he is. So when he does stuff like that, it makes the team better because everyone else wants to get better as well.
An opportunity to be drafted by the Oilers is one Nugent Hopkins is excited about because of the rebuild the club is currently going through.
That would be great. I mean, they're a young team who's developing right now, and I mean, if I got to be a part of that, that'd be awesome for me.
So what does it feel like being the potential first overall pick in this year's NHL entry draft?
It's pretty exciting to say the least. I mean, I got to worry about the playoffs right now, but I mean, when the time comes, I'm going to be very excited, and it's kind of surreal for me right now. I mean, I'm just a kid who likes playing hockey, and I mean, it's all coming up pretty fast, but I'm really enjoying it all.
Kyle Gallagher, NAIT NewsWatch.
Here at NAIT, we're passionate about our athletics.
And our Lyndon Savanto decided to share with us a little bit about his favorite sport.
Yes, it's every young boy's dream to grow up and be a famous athlete, be the next star baseball player or hockey player, to be the next star of handball. Wait, what's handball?
Handball is...
I explain it basically like it's a mixture of lacrosse and soccer, just without the equipment. Use your hands.
I don't know how to explain it.
Compared to something be like water polo on land, maybe a little like tougher, more athletic, faster paced.
Men's handball was played at the 1936 Summer Olympics in Berlin. During the next several decades, the sport flourished and evolved in Scandinavia. The sport re-emerged onto the world stage in the 1972 Summer Olympics in Munich. Numerous players from Canada have played professionally overseas, several of which are from Alberta. Tyrell Johnston is looking to take his game to the next level as he hopes to one day play professionally in Europe.
One of my coaches has contacted clubs in Germany, and like they said they're really interested. They just need like to see me play to verify it, not to like, oh yeah, someone said he's awesome, so let's take him. Opportunity to go play in Germany, France, or just even to represent Canada in a different continent.
And representing Canada is something Tyrell will have to get used to. As a member on the Canadian junior national team, Tyrell and his teammates will be trying to qualify for a spot at the World's Tournament in Greece. The Canadian junior national team will be in Brazil April 15th to the 23rd, hoping to get that spot.
That if we finish top 5, get to go to Worlds, and that's just like an opportunity of a lifetime.
But it's not just the fierce competitions that drive people to play the sport.
Coming from high school, it wasn't that popular, but handball, I've made a lot of friends.
It was like lots of fun. Like I met awesome guys, just like lots of good times. Like outside of play, we go out, we have lots of fun with the guys on the team or just whatever.
And you make a lot of friends. Very nice community. Everybody's pretty friendly and just great place to be.
With its unique style and devoted followers, team handball is definitely something to watch out for here in Edmonton. NAIT NewsWatch. I'm Lyndon Savanto.
Many music styles come and go.
But the electronic music scene in Edmonton is alive and thriving. Emily has more on the story.
Amongst Edmonton's nightlife, a new style of music has emerged and is quickly gaining popularity among the city's youth. Over the past few years, an underground culture of electronic music and its listeners has broken onto the Edmonton club scene. The genre, which has proven to be more than just a new sound, but also a new lifestyle, with shows at various venues across the city, as well as impromptu performances at house parties. Electronic music has many different styles: house, fidget, hardstyle, dubstep, and trance, just to name a few. A longtime fan of electronic music, Megan has found that there are often misconceptions about people who enjoy the genre.
Anything that's different, people are going to usually have that negative reaction, right? So I think a lot of people think that people that listen to electronic music are just a bunch of like ecstasy doing juice heads, which a lot of them are, but I mean, it's not all the same. It's just the same with like people that are into like hard rock and stuff. People assume they're all like, well, emo, cut myself, whatever, and it's not the case. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know, each to their own.
While for many, the genre is associated with a negative image of drugs and violence, Megan is in it for the music and the love, attending festivals such as Shambhala in BC, where the music is celebrated.
Shambhala is not necessarily a music festival. It's a gathering of different people and nature and all that sort of stuff. So
here in our own city, we are visited by acts from around the world such as Deadmau5, Rusko, and Skrillex. But there is also a big presence of local talent making waves on the electronic scene.
I'd always been interested in electronic music, and I'd always, wanted to kind of get into it and really didn't know a whole lot about it. So I just, kind of started hanging out with one of my buddies who had a set of turntables, and in the time that we wouldn't jam, like playing, drums and guitar, stuff like that, we would just go and mix music. And
Cademan Brooks, an Edmonton native and local up-and-coming DJ, explains that trying to make your mark in Edmonton is not an easy thing.
You really have to be good at what you do, or you have to know the right people. And so, for people who don't know anybody, it's a struggle. You have to be really good. And for the people who are really good, and have the friends, you're in your set. So it really depends on where you're coming from and the amount of skill that you have.
While the genre is starting to become more mainstream, with DJs collaborating with big-name artists like Britney Spears, it is hard to say if electronic is here to stay or just a passing fad. Emily Vaughn, NAIT NewsWatch.